Hello and welcome to this week's Stadium Showdown. Every week here at Channel 19, we tackle and are staying on top of where will the Browns be playing in the future. Now, it was a busy week, a lot happening, even though lawmakers just got back from recess down in Columbus. We'll tackle that in a minute. But in a surprise move, County Executive Chris Ronayne, really kind of out of nowhere, sent a letter down to Columbus right before the Senate is tackling this issue. And he's now asking for $350 million to renovate the downtown stadium. It's the first time he has sent a letter like this. Our Colton Molesky takes a look.
Cuyahoga County Executive Chris Ronayne is sticking to his guns, saying again that the Brook Park venture is just too risky. He's offering an alternative, saying that instead of building something else, they should renovate what's already here, transform Huntington Bank Field.
Hazard Sports Group seems to be doing the same thing. For some reasons, they want to hijack the downtown Cleveland Browns from its downtown and its historic home, which is hijacking them from the fans themselves. But we've gone downstate with our case, and it's mano a mano, tete-a-tete.
The $350 million ask is exactly what the Bengals asked for to renovate their stadium. So why now? Is it too late? Especially as the Ohio House already passed its version of the budget that included $600 million in bonds for the Brook Park project. Ronayne says it's not too late at all.
We're doing it because we believe in that. We believe in the argument that we shouldn't put taxpayers at risk. We believe in the argument that we can do something transformative on the lakefront. And we believe in the argument that it's time to come home.
Ronayne says he asked for the money and not the city because Hamilton County did the same thing for the Bengals. However, a point of difference, Hamilton County owns that stadium. The city of Cleveland owns Huntington Bank Field. But to Ronayne, it shouldn't matter.
We both spoke to the issue, asking for the same amount of money. Two stadiums, both teams in the AFC North, both about the same age as far as stadiums go.
And after the Legislative Service Commission and Office of Budget Management echoed his concerns that the Brook Park venture is too risky, he still feels confident his message is getting to Columbus.
So my letter to the state Senate was to say, one, it's too risky out in Brook Park. Two, we only need what Hamilton County has asked for.
I also reached out to the mayor's office for comment and received a statement that said, in part, we have been abundantly clear that we believe the stadium should remain on the lakefront. We appreciate the county executive's advocacy and commitment to our shared goal of transforming the stadium on the lakefront. In Cleveland, Colton Molesky, 19 News.
Now, what's interesting about that letter sent by the county executive, as we heard Colton Molesky ask, is that is a city-owned stadium. So why is the county executive sending a letter on a city-owned stadium? Our Catherine Huntley took that question and the opinion to the Cleveland City Council.
City Council President Blaine Griffin says he unequivocally supports the county executive's $350 million proposal. Griffin says he will continue to fight for the Browns to stay downtown because if the city's central business district fails, the county fails as well. Every day, Council President Blaine Griffin has a front row seat to the stadium and lakefront. He's passionate about keeping the team downtown.
I don't think that the deal is done, and I just want to keep on fighting for our city.
Griffin says for years, Cleveland taxpayers have invested in strengthening the downtown district.
We cannot risk those investments, and it would be almost irresponsible and political malpractice to support anything that does not support and stabilize our central business district.
Griffin says the county exec is bringing a fiscally responsible proposal for the city and county.
The county's ready to put in some money. The city's ready to put in some money. We're ready to work. And once again, if the Brook Park deal falls through, we're going to be here to be able to work together, lock ourselves in a room, and try to figure out how we can have a winning team on the lakefront.
After all, he says it's the love of the Browns and the Cleveland experience that keeps people dedicated to keeping the Browns downtown.
They sacrifice because they believe in this institution, not just because they're fans, but they believe in what this institution brings and what it means to the city of Cleveland.
We reached out to the mayor's office about the county's proposal, who said they had a heads up ahead of time before it was sent to the legislature. The mayor's office also said they've been abundantly clear that the stadium should remain on the lake and that they appreciate the county exec's advocacy and helping to transform this stadium down here on the lakefront. In Cleveland, Catherine Huntley, 19 News.
We're going to take a quick break, but on the other side, we're going to look at two reports that came out of Columbus this week that are extremely critical of the Haslam Sports Group's projections for Brook Park. And welcome back to Stadium Showdown. We're going to look at two reports that were released this week from Columbus that are very, very critical of what the Haslam Sports Group claims will happen if we build this massive project in Brook Park. Let's take a step back. There are two offices down in Columbus that can produce non-biased, nonpartisan reports. Lawmakers go to these offices and say, here, can you crunch these numbers, or can you look at the legality of this? And reports are generated. Let's talk first of all about the Legislative Service Commission report that came out. We're going to get to their conclusions in a second, but here we go. The overwhelming conclusion from this body of research is that there are little to no tangible impacts of sports teams and facilities on local economic activity. Now, the Haslam Sports Group vehemently denies the report, the claims that were made in the LSC report. A second conclusion is that the level of government subsidies given for the construction of facilities far exceeds any observed economic benefit when they do exist. And finally, some of the newly created positions in the mixed-use district will come at the expense of similar jobs in Cleveland. We've been hearing this, that anything you build in Brook Park will draw jobs away from Crocker Park, from Strongsville, from the mall there. But again, we will get to the claims rebutted by the Haslam Sports Group. The second report was released by the Office of Budget and Management, and they came up with several questions that they had about the Haslam Sports Group's numbers. And we're going to go over those, including responses from the HSG. For example, the OBM report says Ohio would own or partially own a sports stadium and be responsible for the maintenance with no additional revenue. Here's the Haslam Sports Group's response to that. They say, this is not accurate. The state will not own the proposed Brook Park Stadium or be responsible for any maintenance thereof. Let's get to the question of jobs created. Here's the claim by the OBM. On the income tax side, the new full-time jobs at most 1,238 or maybe 1,500 jobs through all phases, not 5,000 jobs like the Haslam Sports Group is claiming. And here's how they rebut that. They come back and say, regarding full-time employment, our projection of 5,370 permanent jobs reflects the number of direct FTE jobs supported at the stadium. They say that'll be 866. Then created in the mixed use district, the shopping, the restaurants in that area, they think that'll bring 2,500 jobs. And then generated by spending at surrounding businesses, they think can come up with almost another 2,000 jobs. I want to get back to the response from the Haslam Sports Group because it is fairly scathing a little bit here. They say the OBM and the LSC memos outlined various questions which we have previously addressed with Governor DeWine and other state officials. Goes on to say, we question many of the memo's assertions and have worked with our team of national experts to prepare relevant information and responses to the points in the OBM material. They close out by saying the LSC memo also contained several inaccuracies and misinformation. We understand and welcome the Governor DeWine's commitment to creating a responsible funding mechanism for sports facilities across Ohio, as he has consistently communicated the positive impact of Ohio's teams and their venues have on the state. Now, what's interesting, both of these reports, the OBM and the LCS, were both requested by Democrats, both of them here from Northeast Ohio. I asked Representative Brennan, who's a Democrat that represents Parma and Parma Heights, who asked for the OBM, why this issue has become so partisan. Why do the majority of Republicans want it and the majority of Democrats hate it?
I've spoken with some of my Republican colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and I think there were some of those who voted for the budget that were against this as well. But the budget is a big package. There's a lot in there, and clearly they felt that there was enough in there that gave them the, in their minds, the justification to vote yes on the budget, despite the fact that this was in there.
Coming up after the break, it's one of the most common questions we get here at Channel 19, and it has to do with traffic. How would a stadium built in Brook Park, how would anybody ever get to the airport? How would anybody get to the stadium? And the amount of money it would cost to redo the highways and the entrances and exits. We will also hear from Justin Bibb from his State of the City, where he himself says the odds of the stadium remaining downtown is 50-50. As I said before we went to break, it's one of the bigger questions we hear, complaints, questions, not only from viewers, but even from some of the lawmakers. How is Brook Park going to handle the traffic, whether it's on the highways, the exits, and who's going to pay for it? Our Brittany Weir took those questions to the mayor of Brook Park.
Progress continues to be made in Brook Park as the Browns move one step closer to calling the city their new home. Brian Beyer, the public works director, says the next step is to look at the roads.
Our biggest concern here at the city of Brook Park is when this project is done, that when there are visitors, we can not only accommodate the visitors, but also we'll be able to accommodate travelers.
Beyer says city leaders, along with the Haslams, met with ODOT directors. They discussed how to secure the funding needed to make the modifications around the complex.
The city of Brook Park understands that we'll have to be a sponsor in order to seek any funding that may be available to help assist with these modifications that will have to be done.
They have done multiple traffic studies and found the modifications needed to be made are minor. Beyer says this is because the roads around the site are already accommodating.
We can keep visitors out of our neighborhoods, but still accommodate all their travel needs. Like I said, whether it become rail, airport, or freeway access.
The city of Brook Park says the facility as it is right now can hold up to 22,000 parking spaces, but they say they know that number will have to increase significantly before the first event at this new dome.
There definitely it has been conversations with creating more parking. At this point, hasn't really been in detail.
On Friday, crews could be seen along both sides of Snow Road. We're told they are drilling and testing the soil around the site to make sure that it is structurally sound.
The infrastructure around it is solid and the bones are great. So I think that's why this site is such a good site.
To make sure the process is seamless for those visiting Brook Park, Beyer says more traffic studies will continue. In Brook Park, Brittany Weir, 19 News.
Recently, Mayor Justin Bibb sat down to deliver his State of the City address. And of course, whether or not the Browns will stay downtown was a big portion of that address. And when the mayor himself was asked how he feels about the Browns continuing to play downtown, he said 50-50. Let's get to Colton Molesky's report.
In Mayor Justin Bibb's fourth State of the City address, he sounded off on the Cleveland Browns and the team's attempt to move out of downtown.
We're going to keep fighting to keep the Browns playing good or bad football on our lakefront.
For the final time in his first term, the mayor gave a State of the City address. It was another chance for Bibb to announce his commitment to keeping the Browns downtown.
People are choosing Cleveland. And so now is not the time to turn our back on investing in the urban core.
The mayor noted investments like that of Dan Gilbert in downtown Cleveland and what the move could mean for the economics of the city.
I'm very concerned, as is the county executive, that this will create a massive, massive impact to our economic outlook as a city and as a region. That's why it's been a bit frustrating for myself and the county executive not to have real alignment with our business leadership on this critical issue.
As the Cleveland native has said in the past, this issue is not only one that concerns him for the health of the city, but also holds a personal chord.
It would be a big blow. I remember going to one of the last games with my late father and my brother Donovan. They were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. My dad left the firehouse. We went to Chuck Steiner in Cleveland Heights and drove downtown.
The mayor added he is, quote, 50-50 on the Browns' chances of staying downtown, but did say the potential move does not mean the end of the lakefront.
If they do get the money, we're going to find a way to be resilient and keep Cleveland growing. Because hell or high water, we are going to develop a world-class lakefront that our residents can be proud of once and for all.
In Cleveland, Colton Molesky, 19 News.
That's our commitment here at Channel 19. Every week we have this stadium showdown to really get to the nitty-gritty, and there are updates almost every week. And you at home have questions. scan this QR code. It's very simple. It's going to let you ask us right here what your questions are, and then we're going to go out and get the answers. That's how important this is, not only to you, but to all of us here in Northeast Ohio. That's going to wrap up our Stadium Showdown show this week. Remember, you can go to cleveland19.com, catch up on past episodes, and as always, if we have any news that breaks, anything that happens from this week to our next show, you're going to get a push alert, and you can go to cleveland19.com to read the very latest. I'm Dan DeRose, and this was Stadium Showdown.